The clearing had become a battlefield. Dust hung in the air like smoke from an unseen fire, illuminated by thin shafts of moonlight cutting through the broken canopy above. The ground was torn apart, deep gouges carved by massive claws, shattered stones scattered like shrapnel, and streaks of fresh blood darkening the earth. The prey stood at the center, wounded, bleeding, furious. Every breath it took came heavy and loud, steam pouring from its jaws as it spun in place, trying to track enemies it could barely see. Its muscles trembled, not from fear, but from rage and exhaustion. It roared again, a sound that once ruled this forest. This time, the roar carried doubt. The Utahraptors circled wider now, their silhouettes flickering between trees and stone. They did not rush. They did not celebrate. Their eyes stayed locked on the prey, tracking every movement with ruthless focus. This was no longer a hunt. This was war. The leader moved first. It darted forward from the shadows, faster than the prey expected, leaping high and raking its sickle claw across the massive thigh before twisting midair and landing behind cover. Blood sprayed, hot and dark, splashing against stone. The prey screamed in pain and swung wildly, jaws snapping shut on nothing but air. Too slow. From the opposite side, two Utahraptors struck together. One lunged low, tearing at the lower leg, while the other slashed across the ribs before vanishing again. Their coordination was perfect, each attack opening space for the next. The prey charged. It smashed into a rock formation, shattering stone and sending debris flying. The impact shook the clearing, but the Utahraptors were already gone, melting back into shadow like smoke. The pack leader watched closely. The forest held its breath. The prey, once a giant among giants, now stumbled, bleeding, muscles trembling from repeated attacks. Its once commanding roar had diminished to a guttural, painful sound, echoing faintly off the broken trees. Every step was a struggle, every movement a calculated attempt to survive. But survival was no longer enough. From the shadows, the Utahraptor leader watched. Its amber eyes gleamed with cold intelligence. Around it, the pack waited, patient, methodical. They did not rush. They did not hesitate. Every step they had taken, every attack they had executed, had brought them to this inevitable moment. The wounded king tried to charge, smashing its massive forelimbs into a fallen log. It screamed in frustration and pain, sending a tremor through the jungle. Broken branches fell from above. Birds erupted from the treetops in terrified flocks. The jungle itself seemed to recoil from the violence. Yet, the Utahraptors advanced. They moved as one entity, weaving between trees and rocks, keeping the prey disoriented. One raptor lunged at its flank, claws raking deep into thick muscle. Another attacked from behind, forcing the beast to twist unnaturally to defend itself. Pain and exhaustion had dulled the creature's reflexes. It was still strong, but no longer dominant. The prey's massive tail swung, catching one raptor mid-leap. Bones cracked. Feathers and blood flew. Yet even this sacrifice did not stop the hunt. The remaining pack adjusted seamlessly, attacking in perfect coordination. There was no fear. Only the hunt. Only the inevitability of nature's law. Finally, the prey stumbled near a shallow ravine, its legs giving way under the weight of pain and blood loss. The Utahraptors seized the moment. They surrounded the king completely, claws and teeth striking from every angle. Dawn crept slowly into the jungle. Golden light filtered through torn leaves and shattered branches, illuminating the battlefield left behind by the night's violence. Mist hovered close to the ground, swirling around broken trees, claw-marked stones, and the massive fallen body of the king. Blood had soaked into the soil, staining the earth as if the forest itself had been wounded. But the jungle was alive. It always survived. The Utahraptors emerged cautiously from the shadows, one by one. Their bodies were scarred, cuts along their flanks, blood dried into dark patterns across feathers and scales. Some limped. Some carried wounds that would never fully heal. Yet their eyes burned with sharp awareness. They had paid the price. And they had won. The pack leader stood atop a raised rock, silhouetted against the rising sun. Its chest rose and fell slowly, breath steady, controlled. It scanned the clearing, ensuring no rival scavenger dared approach. Carrion birds circled above, crying impatiently, but none descended. Even they sensed the danger. This kill belonged to the pack. A younger Utahraptor approached the fallen king carefully, nudging the massive body with its snout. There was no movement, no roar, no resistance, only stillness. The impossible had become reality. The leader released a low, vibrating call, deep, deliberate. The pack gathered closer. This was not celebration. This was remembrance. They pressed close together, touching snouts and shoulders, sharing warmth and scent. Two were missing. Their absence weighed heavier than victory. The leader lowered its head briefly. A moment of silence. Then the feeding began. Not chaotic, not savage, ordered. Each Utahraptor knew its place, its turn, its role. The pack fed quickly, efficiently, eyes always scanning the jungle beyond the clearing. This was survival, not indulgence. Strength would be needed again soon. The forest did not announce the danger. It simply shifted. Somewhere deep ahead, a massive presence moved, slow, confident, unaware that it was no longer alone. Heavy footsteps pressed into the earth, leaving behind deep impressions that cracked dried mud and crushed undergrowth. Each step spoke of size, power, and dominance. The Utahraptors followed without sound. They moved like shadows stitched into the forest itself, weaving between trees, stepping over roots, and passing through narrow gaps without disturbing a single leaf. Their breathing was synchronized, shallow and controlled, as if the pack shared one set of lungs. The leader halted suddenly. Every raptor froze mid-step. No signal, no sound. The pack understood. Ahead lay fresh tracks, wide, deep, unmistakable. The prey was massive, larger than anything a single Utahraptor would dare confront alone. The scent in the air was strong, heavy with sweat and territorial musk. A king walked these lands. The leader lowered its head, studying the tracks carefully. It was not simply following, it was calculating. The angle of the prints, the depth, the spacing, all signs pointed to one truth. The prey was confident. Confident creatures make mistakes. With a subtle shift of posture, the leader began to move again, this time angling left. Two raptors peeled off silently, disappearing into thicker vegetation. Another slipped to the right, using fallen trees and shadows for cover. The formation widened. The trap began to take shape. Long before legends were written, and long before humans understood fear, this forest already knew it by name. The land was vast, stretching endlessly beneath a sky bruised with storm clouds. Towering prehistoric trees rose like ancient sentinels, their trunks thick and scarred, their branches locking together so tightly that daylight struggled to survive below. The forest floor was layered with rot, fallen leaves, broken bones, and the remains of creatures that had never escaped. This place was alive, and it was listening. A low wind moved through the canopy, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and old blood. Somewhere in the distance, a deep roar echoed, then stopped suddenly, cut short as if silenced by something smarter, faster. The silence that followed was wrong. No insects, no birds, no warning. Then came the sound. A soft click, claws, not heavy footsteps, not crashing movement, but light, deliberate steps, barely disturbing the ground. From between the trees, shadows shifted. The Utahraptor emerged. It was larger than the smaller raptors remembered by time, massive, muscular, built like a living weapon perfected through evolution's cruelty. Its body was low and powerful, wrapped in sinewy muscle, beneath rough, feathered skin marked by scars that had never fully healed. Its eyes burned with intelligence, not hunger, not rage, calculation. The sickle-shaped claw on each foot curved like a sharpened blade, lifted slightly from the ground as it walked, ready, patient, deadly. Its breathing was slow, controlled, almost silent. This was not an animal driven by instinct alone.